This is a message to all Christian pastors in the United States and Christians alike. This is your moment. This is your hour. This is your intersection between being a Christian and being an American. Now is the time to speak the truth. Time is running out. Next. April 1775, Paul Revere was riding around, as we know, history tells us, Lexington, Massachusetts, telling everybody the British are coming. But he didn't just ride around in circles. Did you know that? Paul Revere had a destination that day. Yes, he wanted to warn as many Lexington residents as possible that the British were coming and to be ready for whatever they were going to do at the time, because we didn't know exactly what they were going to do, but they had to do something. They had to be warned. But Paul Revere had a destination, and his destination was the home of Jonas Clark. Who's Jonas Clark? Jonas Clark was a pastor in Lexington, and Jonas Clark was very connected to what was going on, the soon-to-be revolution in 1776, about a year later. And Jonas Clark, at his home, had two special guests. You may recognize their names, Samuel Adams and John Hancock. In fact, the British were coming for John Hancock. They wanted his head. They probably would have taken him back to England and taken his head, but they wanted John Hancock. And so Pastor Clark was harboring a fugitive, and he was protecting one of the greatest legends in the history of this country. And so Adams and Hancock turned to Clark, the pastor, a pastor now, a man of the cloth, and said, "Will the men of Lexington fight?" And Pastor Clark, you know what his response was? "I have been training these men for this very day. Yes, they will fight. They will fight in the name of God." Okay? At our beginning, at our founding, we were founded on the rock of God, of Christian principles of the New Testament, the Christian Bible. No, it wasn't Judeo-Christian. This was a Christian foundation for this country, being destroyed now, but it is a Christian foundation for this country. The next morning, Pastor Clark leads his troops, they called the Minutemen back then, to face the invaders, the British, directly. And when the British demanded that they lay down their weapons in the name of the crown, do you know what Jonas Clark and his men answered? This is part of our history, pastors, Christians, and Jews and rabbis. You ought to be listening to this too, because we're all on the same team. We're all on the same team here. The reply was, "We recognize no sovereign but God and no king but Jesus." Do you hear that? You pastors who you go in the pulpit every Sunday and you dissect the Bible, or you avoid certain kinds of talking points like abortion. Oh, we can't talk about abortion, can we, from the pulpit? Yes, you can, and you must. More on that in just a minute. We recognize no king but Christ. This is what I've been arguing for years now. This is a Christian country, a Christian-based, Christian-founded country that does answer to a king. It's Christ. Whether you like it as a Muslim or you like it as a Hindu, tough. The good news is, you Muslim and you Hindu, is that you get to practice your religion here in the freedom of America as it is today, which isn't much left. So the first shot was fired at Lexington, Massachusetts by Pastor Clark's men. I hope you see the theme here, Christian pastors and ministers and priests, especially you priests, but I know it's probably going in this ear and out the other, you Catholic priests, if you're even watching at all. Maybe you Catholics out there can explain to your pastors of your Catholic churches what little Grammy is trying to explain right now. Maybe you'll show them this video. Christian pastors and priests and ministers, you must now go in the pulpit and fuse together the fact that you are a Christian, a pastor, a leader, ostensibly, time to prove it, a Christian, a pastor, and a leader, and an American. This is the intersection right here, right now. When you go to the ballot booth, you must tell your congregation you need to vote as a Christian. If you vote as a Christian, you cannot vote for Kamala Harris. You can't. You can't vote for Nancy Pelosi. You can't vote for Chuck Schumer. You can't vote for any of these felons against God, because that's what they are. They are felons against God. And many of them are felons against Christianity itself. This is what you need to be doing. We only have, this is late August. I rarely talk about dates here. It's late August 2024. So one day when this video is pulled up 50 years from now, they'll say, this is a guy named Graham Ledger who was warning these Christian pastors that you're losing your country and you're losing your religion. Obviously, they didn't listen, because now we're living in a totalitarian lifestyle with no religion whatsoever. Yeah, that's our future. That's where we're headed. We're losing our country and we're losing our religion. They're both happening as we speak, real time, in our lifetimes. This is not hyperbole. This is a fact. Christian pastors, ministers, priests, now, this is your hour. We have 3 Sundays left. Do you know that? The first 3 Sundays of September, that's all you have left. We have 1 left right now in August of 2024, and we have 3 left, 3 Sundays left. 3 Sundays left before early voting starts. Early voting. We have not fixed what happened in 2020, ladies and gentlemen. If you think there's going to be a different result in 2024 versus 2020, then you are defining insanity, because we've done nothing to fix it. But despite the fact that cheating is imminent, we must go down fighting. This is why you exist, Christian pastors and ministers. This is your moment. This is your Jonas Clark moment. You need to go into battle. Put on the full armor of God. Now, 3 Sundays left. Remember your heritage, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, they start voting on September 18th. I mean, it's insanity. It's crazy. I wish I could stop it. I wish I could stop every mail-in ballot and every early ballot in this country, but I can't. But we can tell the truth. And you can go down fighting. And if you don't, you are going to have to answer to God. What are you more afraid of? Your 501c3 status and losing a few radical Democrats who shouldn't be in your congregation anyway? Or are you more afraid of standing before God saying, hey, you know what? I guess I blew it, Lord. I had an opportunity to tell the truth, but I didn't do it. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was founded by Quakers. That's your heritage, Pennsylvania, you ministers in Pennsylvania. How about your ministers in Maryland? Catholicism. This is a Catholic state. Okay? I know no one talks about this anymore. It's blasphemy in today's America, right? That we talk about our Christian heritage. Massachusetts, the Puritans. This is our heritage. You cannot separate your Christianity from your politics. This notion, and it is a notion, it's a fallacious notion of separation in church and state. It does not exist. Why? Why doesn't it exist? Because as a Christian or a Jew, but let's talk Christian, you cannot separate your Christianity from what you do in government or with government or by government or for government. There is no separation between church and state. Congress or the government shall establish no state religion, but that's not the same thing. You bring your Christianity to the government. You bring your Christianity to school. You bring your Christianity to a ball game. You bring your Christianity to the grocery store. You don't separate them. This is nonsense. When Christ said, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, this isn't just about taxes. You're missing the point if you think that's what it was about. Christ was saying, get involved in government. That's what he was saying. He was talking about you must be engaged in the government under which you live. And in our system, it still remains by the people for the people, right? And so by the people for the people means you must bring your views to government. Yes, bring them to the school board. Yes, to city council. Yes, to state level government. And yes, to federal government. Hell yes. I don't care about them tearing down the 10 Commandments off of walls. The 10 Commandments are in your heart. Right, pastors? Right, ministers? You need to stand up there in the pulpit these next 3 weeks and say, if you vote for any candidate who's pro-abortion, if you vote for any candidate that is pro-open borders, if you vote any candidate that is pro-Hamas, you are anti-God and you are committing a sin. You can do it. If you vote pro-abortion candidates, you are sinning. It's that simple. Say it. If you vote for a candidate that's pro-Hamas, aka anti-Israel, you're sinning. Christians are here to protect Israel because the Israelis, the Jews, are his chosen people. They may not believe everything that we believe, but they're still the chosen people. And we need to protect Israel as part of our policy in this country, but also as part of who and what we are as Christians. And so if you vote for a candidate, Kamala Harris, that is pro-Hamas, pro-anything Muslim, and the Muslims want to destroy Israel, and the Hamas wants to destroy Israel, and Hezbollah wants to destroy Israel, and Iran wants to destroy Israel, you are sinning. Say it. You cannot support a pro-Hamas candidate. You will be committing a sin. You must fight, pastors. You must fight like Jonas Clark did in any way you can. And the power that if we could unify all of the Christian pastors in this country and priests, although I won't hold my breath, imagine the power. You're talking 100 million American voters. 100 million? Practicing and non-practicing Christians out there? You have the power. The pastors in this country have the power to swing the election in God's direction. Not Donald Trump's direction, God's direction. What is God's direction? Well, we have the fusion here in this country, of Christianity, which is individual salvation, and in the United States, something called individual liberty. And the two are hand in glove. Individual salvation and individual liberty. We have these freedoms to do things as Christians and to do good, hopefully. And we have this freedom in the United States as Americans to do good, hopefully. Yes, some people do bad, but evil is the absence of God. So they have this fundamental right to choose. So we have to make sure as Christians that the American people know the truth. If the American people go in the ballot booth, if anybody does that anymore, I do, and they vote for a slate of candidates, or even one candidate that is pro-abortion, they're sinning. Say it. The Bible compels you. Nehemiah, Old Testament, 4:14. Don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, and your wives and your homes. This is the fight of our lives. Pastors, pay attention. This is the Old Testament, and for you rabbis, this is applying to you. This is the Old Testament. We have it in the New Testament as well. Luke 10:19, behold, I have given you the authority to tread on snakes and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. These people are the enemy. They represent evil on the planet, evil in this country. They are the enemy. And you need to address them that way. Luke 10:19 applies to Kamala Harris. A snake, a scorpion. I like to call Kamala Harris what I believe her biblical name should be, and that's a Jezebel. She's a Jezebel, a wicked, wicked woman who cannot be trusted. So pastors, I'm not going to belabor this point. This is your hour. You need to get up in the pulpit and say, vote as Christians. That's your voter guide. You don't need any other voter guide. Is this person worthy? Is this person pro-life? Is this person pro-America? Is this person pro-Israel? Okay. I'm going to vote for that person. Forget about dissecting the New Testament, the Old Testament for the next 3 Sundays, pastors. I'm begging you, please. This is it. This is for all the marbles. You must stand up and say, if you vote pro-abortion, you are committing a sin, and you will have to answer to God. Remember, evil, and there's plenty of it in this country, evil can only prevail when good is silent.